Have you ever been in a conversation or, even listening to someone present and you just felt like the message wasn't quite landing?
Absolutely.
Or maybe you've felt that little flutter of nerves right before you have to say something important. It can really stop you in your tracks.
You really can. And that feeling, that challenge, it's almost universal, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're digging into today on the deep dive. We're looking at Julia Eris's work, How Highly Effective People Speak.
Okay.
And the mission here is really to give you some practical tools, psychological ones too, not just to talk, but to actually influence, persuade, and, connect more deeply.
Right. Whether it's a big meeting or just chatting with friends.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's about understanding those subtle mechanics of how we interact.
I like that framing. Because Eris, in her introduction, she really stresses that good speaking skills aren't just for formal stuff.
Mhm.
She says they're transformative personally. They open doors. How does she suggest that works? How does it lead to, say, deeper connections or even getting good word of mouth?
Well, the core idea, I think, is that getting good at communication isn't just an outward skill. It's kind of an inner journey, too.
Ah, okay.
Aras suggests that when you face those fears, when you get better at expressing yourself, you build this deeper self-belief.
Confidence.
Yeah, confidence. And that radiates, it makes you seem more approachable, more credible.
Right.
And the word of mouth thing, it's not just for products, it's for you. When you communicate well, genuinely, people remember you. They trust you. They're more likely to say good things about you and your ideas.
So it's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. Self-improvement, feeding positive reactions, feeding self-improvement.
That's a really powerful way to start thinking about it. So, okay, if we want to become these more effective communicators, what does that actually look like? How does Eris define effective communication?
Well, at its basic level, she defines it as the successful process of conveying your thoughts, ideas, and relevant information so that the message is passed on accurately.
Right, getting the message across.
Yes, but it's more than just transmitting data.
Mhm.
Her real insight, I think, is that it's about actively reducing friction.
Friction.
Yeah, minimizing the misunderstandings, the frustrations, the stress that often comes up in our interactions. It's about aiming for real clarity and, mutual understanding.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking of friction, she mentions lack of focus as a big one. I know I'm guilty of trying to multitask during calls. How bad is that, really?
Oh, it's incredibly damaging. The core principle Eris emphasizes is just be present.
Simple, but hard.
It is. She strongly advises try not multitasking while you are trying to have a conversation. Think about it. When you're distracted, your brain just isn't fully there.
Yeah.
And it's not just about manners.
Yeah.
It's about processing. Eye contact, nodding, even just repeating their points in your head.
Mm.
That helps you absorb the subtle stuff, the unspoken cues, the real meaning. It shows respect, sure, but it also just helps you understand better.
Yeah.
And that prevents conflict later because you actually heard them.
That's so true. It reminds me of playing Chinese whispers or telephone as a kid.
Exactly.
You start with one thing, and by the end, totally different.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And it happens in the real world all the time with too many intermediate communicators.
Right. Passing the message down the line.
Yeah. The material stresses trying to decrease the number of channels or people in the chain.
Mm-hmm.
Direct interaction is just invaluable
Why is that?
because you can gauge expectations or needs that they have not stated explicitly. You pick up on the tone, the hesitation, things that get totally lost when it goes through someone else.
Like trying to follow a recipe passed through 5 people.
Precisely. You lose the crucial details.
Mm.
That direct connection builds trust and real understanding.
Okay, so minimize the adult telephone game. Got it. What about when things get emotional? Because not controlling our feelings, that's a huge barrier, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is the big one. It's cited as a most significant barrier. And the tricky part is, even if you don't say anything angry or upset,
Your body gives it away.
totally. Things like rolling your eyes or tapping your feet and crossing your arm, those send instant negative signals.
Yeah, I know I do the foot tapping thing sometimes.
Right. Your body's having its own little negative conversation. So the key is practicing open body language. Uncrossed arms, facing them, eye contact.
Mm.
It shows you're receptive.
And that encourages them to be receptive too.
Often, yes, it's about trying to align your inside feelings with your outside signals.
That's a really powerful point about nonverbals, our bodies doing their own presentation. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From the outside in to the inside out. Self-confidence. Eris really hammers this home, doesn't she?
She absolutely does.
That you need confidence for clear, engaging communication. If you don't believe yourself, why should they?
Exactly. And often that lack of confidence comes from, well, facing the unknown,
Mm.
unknown situations.
Right, like walking into a big interview or a presentation.
Precisely. And the solution Eris offers is pretty straightforward: planning and preparing. As she puts it, preparing for your interview beforehand will definitely be a positive idea. But it applies way beyond interviews.
Just any important conversation.
Any important conversation. Plan your points, think about possible questions or pushback, maybe even rehearse some answers in your head.
Ah, so you're reducing the number of unknowns.
Exactly. It gives you a sense of control, resilience, like mapping out the route before you drive.
Okay, so preparing helps manage the situation. But what about that little voice inside, the inner critic that just keeps nagging? How do we deal with negative self-talk?
That's where positive self-talk comes in. It's incredibly powerful. It helps promote self-compassion, self-confidence, and overcoming self-doubt.
But how does that work? Can you really just convince your brain?
In a way, yes. Iris suggests our internal story isn't fixed. So if you mess up and think, ugh, I always get this wrong,
Yeah.
you can consciously reframe it. Think, okay, I learned something here, or next time I'll try this differently.
So it's not about pretending it didn't happen.
Not at all. It's about training your brain to see it as growth, not failure. Being your own coach, not your biggest critic.
I like that. Be your own coach. And does this connect to celebrating small wins, building on little achievements?
It absolutely does. Confidence grows with accomplishment, even small stuff. The source suggests keeping a gratitude journal, or even just a list of things you've achieved.
Like what?
Anything. Getting good grades back in the day, learning a new software, having one good meeting. Then, on a tough day, you pull the list out.
Or just look at it on your phone.
Right. Remind yourself you're capable. It reinforces that development is incremental. You've already come a long way.
That's a really tangible tip. Okay, so we've built some confidence, we're feeling more prepared. How do we make sure our message doesn't just get heard, but actually resonates, gets remembered?
Now we're getting into the art of it.
Storytelling, right. The book talks about how it adds depth, color, and interest, making facts reach the ears and the hearts of the audience.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that telling a good story isn't just for show. It tells a lot about you and your audience.
How so?
It shows you respect them. You want them to have a good time, basically. In a world full of noise, a good story makes your voice heard. People flock like bees to a good storyteller because you're giving them more than just data.
You're giving them an experience.
An experience, a connection, yeah.
So how do we do that? Become these magnetic storytellers. What techniques does Aris suggest?
She outlines several really useful ones. First up is pathos.
Pathos, like emotion.
Exactly. Connecting emotionally. Respecting their pain, as she puts it. If there's an emotional element, bringing it out sensitively helps the audience relate.
So instead of just stating a problem, describe the feeling of it.
Precisely. Then there's sententia, using brief and moral sayings, think Proverbs quotes.
Like fortune favors the bold.
Exactly like that.
Right.
Short, punchy lines that add weight, make things relatable, maybe even a bit more lively and delightful.
Yeah, those little phrases can really make a point stick. What else?
Projecting images. This is huge, using descriptive words to sketch a clear picture in their minds.
Making it visual.
Making it visual. It's as much a verbal art as it is a visual one. So don't just say, it was difficult. Describe why. We faced a mountain of paperwork, something they can actually picture.
So they remember it longer.
Much longer. Then there's making it personal,
Sharing a bit of yourself.
either about yourself or relating it directly to the audience's world. But crucially, without crossing your line, don't overshare or get too personal.
Right, finding that balance.
And finally, maybe most importantly, tangible takeaways. Your story needs to give them something.
Something to chew on.
Exactly. Something they can learn, something new, an insight they can take home with them.
And don't forget to wrap it up neatly.
Yes. Always summarize. Even if they were listening, a quick summary locks in the key points. It respects their time and helps them remember what actually mattered.
That's great practical advice for crafting the message. But what about how people receive it? We talk a lot about cognitive biases here. How do those mental shortcuts affect communication?
Oh, they're absolutely critical to understand. Because biases fundamentally shape how people even hear you. A cognitive bias is basically a mental shortcut,
Right.
a predictable pattern where our judgment deviates from pure logic, creating our own subjective reality. So you're not always talking to objective reason. You're talking to someone's constructed view of things.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, let's break down a few key ones. What about the halo effect? Like thinking someone's smart just because they look good.
Yeah, that's exactly it. A single trait, attractiveness, maybe charisma, sometimes even just height, creates this overall positive glow or halo.
Or negative one.
Or a negative one, yeah.
Why,
The Horns effect. And that one trait colors your judgment of totally unrelated things. It happens in hiring, in classrooms, everywhere.
Wow.
It goes back to Thorndike in 1920. Observing military officers' good looks made them rate soldiers higher on intelligence, leadership, stuff like that.
So how do we use that or defend against it?
Well, Eris suggests simple things to create a positive initial halo. Greet others, make small talk good about others, even just have an exit line planned. It's about making that first impression count.
Cultivating a little halo. Okay, what about the anchoring effect? I hear that one mentioned in negotiations.
Definitely. Anchoring is where we get fixated on the first piece of information we receive, the anchor.
Like the first price mention.
Exactly. In buying a car, maybe your anchor is your dream model. Even if you can't afford it, its price might make a slightly cheaper but still expensive alternative seem more reasonable because it's closer to the anchor.
I see.
It heavily influences negotiations. That first offer, whether it's salary or price, tends to pull all subsequent discussion towards it. That first number really sets the stage.
It really does. Now, here's one that feels super relevant today. The illusory truth effect. The idea that hearing something over and over makes you believe it.
Yes, and it's powerful because apparently your brain feels lazy. Yeah, processing new stuff takes energy. Repeated information feels familiar, and familiarity breeds belief, even if it's totally false. The shortcut is, heard it before, must be true.
Scary. Is there a good side?
Well, you can use it for self-motivation. Telling yourself, I can handle this repeatedly until maybe you start to feel it. But the downside...
See, a downside seems big. Misinformation, propaganda.
Absolutely. The source gives this stark example of its use during the Second World War, how the Nazi government used repetition to convince Germans that Jews were the enemy.
Wow.
It highlights the danger of false news and information pollution, especially now with social media everywhere. We have to be critical listeners because our brains are kind of wired to believe repeats.
That's a really sobering point. Okay, one more. The zero risk bias. We all want certainty, right?
We absolutely crave it. This bias is where we irrationally choose an option with zero perceived risk, even if another option offers much better rewards with only a tiny risk.
Like choosing super safe government bonds over slightly riskier stocks with higher potential returns.
Exactly. Or think about health regulations. Sometimes they go to crazy lengths to eliminate a minuscule risk because zero risk sounds so appealing, even if it's not logical.
How do marketers use this?
All the time. Branded phones feel safer than unknown ones, even if specs are better. 30-day return policies remove risk. Influencers lend trust. Free samples let you try without risk.
So the takeaway for communication is?
Build trust. Because ultimately, more trust is always equal to less risk. If you can make your idea, your product, yourself seem trustworthy and low risk, people are way more likely to buy in.
Trust equals less risk. Got it. Okay, finally, let's talk about something that happens before we even start talking. Speech anxiety, those butterflies. How do we manage them?
It's so common. And the interesting thing Eris points out is that nervousness isn't all bad.
Really?
Yeah, she says nervousness or anxiety produces adrenaline, which can actually help you think faster and speak more fluently. It can potentially make you an improved speaker.
Huh. So don't fight the nerves, channel them.
Kinda, yeah. It's about managing that energy.
Okay, so how? What are some practical ways to deal with it?
One approach is take baby steps. Share your idea first with someone you trust. Get some low-stakes feedback. Build up gradually.
Makes sense.
Another is to refocus your brain. Right before you speak, remind yourself, this isn't just about me. It's for their benefit, the audience's welfare.
Shifting the focus off yourself.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off. And apparently, with practice, the brain will start getting used to it.
Any physical techniques? Breathing.
Definitely. Control your breathing. Focus on breathing out more than in, using your stomach muscles, and combine it with a little self-talk. I am feeling relaxed. It signals calm to your body.
Takes practice, I bet.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the big one, as always, preparation is key. Practice that speech 10, 20, or 30 times.
Wow.
And anticipate tough questions. Think about what people might ask or object to, and practice your replies. Reducing the unknowns builds huge confidence.
That's a ton of great stuff. So many actionable things we can actually try. Thanks for walking us through all that from Julia Eris's work.
My pleasure. I think the biggest takeaway, really, is how interconnected everything is.
How so?
Effective communication, your own confidence, understanding these biases in others, it all works together. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it, how you prepare, how you manage your own mind and theirs.
Right. It's holistic.
It really is. It's about making sure your message truly lands and has the impact you intend.
I love that. Finding your authentic voice, making sure it resonates, even when you're nervous or uncomfortable. This deep dive really gives us a roadmap.
And maybe that leads to a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
Okay.
In this world just flooded with information, understanding these psychological forces, the biases, the anxieties, the power of presence, it isn't just about becoming a better speaker. It's also about becoming a more critical, discerning listener, and maybe a more authentic, impactful person overall.
That's powerful.
So the question is, what steps will you take this week? Maybe to apply one of these ideas, maybe just to listen a bit differently and really start to own your message.